Coming to paperback and e-readers everywhere, East-themed horror of the Hyena Woman. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a wicked werewoman in this action-packed, all-new East-themed series adventure. Pre-order your copy of East-themed horror of the Hyena Woman on Amazon.com today. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about how many great books, like John Ridley's Black Panther, get ignored by comic book YouTube. Now, a couple of months ago, John Ridley launched a new Black Panther series, and this new Black Panther series is the best take on the character since Christopher Priest got a hold of Black Panther in the early 2000s. And John Ridley has done a great job of giving us a modern take on T'Challa that is very unique because it fuses both the film adaptation's version of Black Panther but stays true to the character in the Marvel Universe's current continuity. And the book was a great entry point for new readers, and it took us straight right into the Marvel Universe the way an old school Marvel comic used to do. But many of your comic YouTubers have not recommended this Black Panther book to readers on their channels, and many of these YouTubers have over 100,000 subs or even 50,000 subs, and just one of those YouTubers making a recommendation to go out here and pick up Black Panther could have easily pushed this book high into Marvel's sales stratosphere, and it could have had that book cracking the Comic-Con top 50. But instead of going out here and looking to move the needle, as one comic YouTuber used to say, there hasn't been much focus on trying to get people to go out here and buy any sort of comics on Comics YouTube, because many comics YouTubers are more focused on clout chasing than they are focused on going out here and getting readers to go out here and pick up lots of great books. Now, I find it interesting that your comic YouTubers are more focused on the dramas that they're having online than going out here and trying to get people to go out here and pick up lots of books. Because according to the comic YouTubers, the sky is constantly always falling, and the industry is in such dire straits. Now, the big two, Marvel and DC, yes, they are having their struggles as related to the sales, but the medium of comics has been stronger than ever. Now, when I look at the whole medium of comics from an objective perspective, there are a lot of great books out there that aren't really getting any sort of promotion these days, because your comic book YouTube spends most of its time complaining about your problems in the industry, or complaining about so-called SJWs, or social justice warriors, who work at companies like Marvel and DC Comics. Now, I believe the main reason why many of these comic book YouTubers focus on this kind of content is because this kind of content gets lots of views. A video complaining about what they call SJWs and woke culture, this kind of video will get thousands of views, but a video where you're sitting there talking about a truly great comic like your John Ridley's Black Panther, or AWA's Knighted, or AWA's Hit Me, which was derided by some comic YouTubers, which I found to be a very great book because it had a great construction as related to showing us inside of the mind of a sex worker and a female predator and how they use beta males. I mean, many of these books, they get ignored by your comic YouTube, which does not go out here and try to recommend some of these books for readers to go out here and pick up. Now, many of these comic YouTubers do not talk about many of the great books at Marvel that are out right now, like the Daredevil book, which is absolutely fantastic, the Moon Knight book, which has been exceptional over the entire year, just exceptionally well done, And they don't talk about the upcoming She-Hulk book, which has put out two very solid issues. No, many of those really great books at Marvel, they don't get talked about. All we hear about are SJWs and how they're destroying the business. Now, on the other side at DC Comics, there are some other good books out as well, such as The Flash, which has been an incredibly fantastic book. I mean, Wally West is back on as the full-time Flash, and the book has had an exceptional year of absolutely great issues, but you won't hear a single word about it from Comics YouTube, which always talks about how DC only makes Batman titles, but there's been a Flash book out for the past year that has been exceptionally well, and I'd have to say that the writing is on the level of Mark Waid and Jeff Johns. Just an absolutely fantastic book, but they don't want to talk about Flash, they don't want to talk about Nightwing, two absolutely great books over at DC. No, they would rather sit there and complain about Superman, Son of Kal-El, an absolutely horrible book, and then go out here and say that, oh, Son of Kal-El is terrible, there's too many Batman books, but they don't talk about the two great books at DC right now that really could use some support. I mean, Flash really could use some support as related to readers, because it's a crime that this book is being ignored by Comics YouTube right now. Just like it's a crime that your Moon Knight, your She-Hulk, and your books like Ghost Rider and Black Panther are being ignored. These books are exceptionally well done, and they're being ignored by your Comics YouTube, which only focuses on some of the worst content, and many of these comic YouTubers only focus on that terrible content, basically because they're addicted, as I see it, to the clout that they have on social media. They're addicted to getting subs on social media. They're addicted to getting views on social media. And because their channels are monetized, what they're looking to do is get the thousands of views and get the thousands of subs. And they have really lost perspective as related to the whole business that they originally came here for. Many are only about trying to get views for themselves and get clout for themselves, and they're not about trying to get many comic fans out here to go out here and pick up books. Me, myself, yes, I am a creator of comics. I'm working on John Haynes at Death's Door, and I worked on E-Steam, No Good Deed with Bill Walko, but I really care about the whole medium of comics, and I want to see really great comics get in the hands of readers, and that's why when I go out here and do videos about comics, I do review videos where I point out things like if there's an issue with a scene as related to transition, or if there's an issue with dialogue. I just don't go ranting about SJWs. No, I want to see comic pros improve in their craft, and the feedback I've gotten from comic pros, many of them, is that they're grateful for me sitting there and pointing out if there's an issue with the book where they can improve, and a lot of them are happy about the whole thing of me being objectively critical regarding them. And they want to get that kind of feedback because they want to improve in their craft, and that's what I want to see with creators when I go out here and review books. I want to see creators improve in their craft, and I also want to be able to generate some sales on some books that I believe are quality, because for me, it's about getting more readers to go pick up comics. It's not about me trying to run some sort of hustle where I'm out here just complaining about these issues as related to these so-called SJWs, complaining about how bad some books are. No, I would rather say, I'll drop a post on Facebook like I did about Death of the Justice League, which was an absolutely garbage book as I saw it, but I'd rather spend 10 to 15 minutes helping a comic pro get better by talking about their book, and if their book is top quality, recommending that book so that that creator can go out here and get some sales, because what drives this business is sales, And if you cannot drive sales, then you're not going to be able to have an industry. But there's a whole industry of YouTubers out here making a business of complaining about comics. And as they complain about comics, they're creating an echo chamber that makes you believe that the industry is in dire straits. But the industry, as related to Marvel and DC, yes, they are struggling as related to their publishing divisions, because their publishing divisions are subsidiaries of corporations, and these subsidiaries of corporations, they really don't really care too much about comics anymore, because all they are about is the IPs. But when I look at the overall medium of comics, especially independent comics, there's a lot of great comics out there being produced right now. And the sad part is, many in comics YouTube don't ever talk about those comics. And because they don't talk about those comics, what happens is that many of those comics don't get an opportunity to be seen by a larger audience, and many people cannot get to know these books and how good they are, so that these publishers can go out here and start making calls to not the publishers, but the comic fans can go out looking for these books. I mean, so many good books. Again, they derided Hit Me, which was a very solid book. Some people derided Count Crowley, which was an absolutely fantastic comic from Dark Horse. But I want to see people picking up these books, because I want to see the industry thrive, and I want to see great stories get in the hands of readers, and that's something I'm very passionate about. Now, yes, again, I have my own comics that I'm working on, but I want to see other creators get success, because other creators are putting in some great work these days, but that work is not getting noticed by anyone, and that's the major crime of comics YouTube. They blow off a lot of great books and a lot of great creators, because they're in an echo chamber where all they want to talk about is social justice warriors and the culture war. And the irony is that many are becoming just as bad as the social justice warriors in propagating another side of the so-called culture war. And that's not really productive as related to the business of comics. No, if we really want to help out the business of comics, we really have to focus on the good books, because if you want more good books, you have to go out here and buy quality books. The whole business of publishing is supply and demand, and as a publisher, I only supply what the customer demands. If you don't go and buy the quality books that are produced, I don't have an incentive to go out here and produce more quality books. And Comics YouTube doesn't really help get more quality books sold these days. No, they spend so much time complaining about social justice warriors that we don't get to see quality books getting talked about. We don't get to see quality books getting any sort of word of mouth, because it's word of mouth that generates sales, and it's word of mouth that gets readers out here actively buying books. And I've heard from people on my recommendations, go out here and pick up books like Count Crowley, pick up books like Hit Me, pick up books like John Ridley's Black Panther, pick up many other titles like Moon Knight, many of these books, and Nightwing, which I did a whole video on. And they're picking up the books because they wanted to find some great stories. And there are a lot of comic fans out here who want to find truly great stories. Now, there's another big problem with your comics YouTube, and it's this covert contract that many have. Many of them believe if they complain about these comics, they can steer some business over to their Kickstarters or their Indiegogos, because they have this idea that they're going to become the saviors of the comic book industry. But this is not what's going to ever happen at all. Yes, you're going to get your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo funded, but the whole thing is that this may get you some cash, but it doesn't do anything for the overall business of comics. And this is something that many of your comics YouTubers really don't understand. They don't understand that the business is bigger than you, and that's why you have to go out here and talk about other great creators, other great creations, because those creators, they deserve to get some exposure. I mean, if you've got a YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you could easily get one of these books into the top 50 instead of complaining about Batman not even getting the top 50 or DC or Marvel not having any books in the top 50. You could get some of these books in the top 50, and you could get some of these books some Comic-Con sales, and you could see that manga doesn't dominate the business, because that's how you help the business. Again, publishing sells by word of mouth, and if you cannot build word of mouth for your books, you're not going to be able to build an audience for your book. I know this from experience because I've gone out here and published books independently, and in the beginning I had to give away books like All About Nikki's first 3 episodes for the first season for free, and that built the word of mouth that enabled me to sell All About Nikki's fabulous first season. And I also did books like John Haynes' A Conversation with Death, and that book built a strong word of mouth, and that's how I was able to generate sales for the John Haynes series. So I know from experience how one recommendation from somebody can basically take a book to the next level, but many in comics YouTube, they're too busy arguing about your SJWs and talking about these dysfunctional people in the industry instead of working to make the industry better by going out here and recommending quality books, or going out here and helping other quality talent move themselves forward as related to their careers. Because if you want a better comic book industry, you have to do more than complain. You have to go out here and actively sell those books, and that is a big problem with today's comic book YouTube. They're not about selling books, they're about selling controversy, and they're all about selling controversy because they want to get views for their channel, and they're all about generating that controversy because that's going to get them the AdSense bucks, that's going to get them the Cash Apps, that's going to get them the Patreon donations, that's going to make them money. So they're not really concerned about comics like I am. I want to see this medium survive and be appreciated and enjoyed by the next generation of kids. So that's why I'll go out and try to recommend great books and get great books in readers' hands, because I want to see the next generation of readers enjoy truly great comics. Yes, I may roast a comic here or there because it's absolutely terrible, but that's also I can teach about technique. I can teach craft and skills. It's not about complaining about SJW creators for me. It's about getting creators to see where they're going wrong as related to the business and help them become better creators and become better honed in their craft. I want to see creators get themselves to a place where they can be much better as related to their skill set, and I want to see creators learn the craft of storytelling so that this medium can survive for another generation. So that's one of the things that really frustrates me when I see many of the comic YouTubers remaining silent about lots of great books that are currently in the marketplace, lots of really solid stories out here. I mean, these books really need a chance to really get some of that press and that word of mouth, because if we spent more time talking about the Moon Knights, more time talking about the Nightwings, more time talking about the Flashes or other great books, that would make it where these creators would have an incentive on books that are garbage like The Punisher or many of the what they call woke titles. It would make these so-called SJW creators want to get their stuff together or get out of the business, because if you cannot generate sales in this business, eventually editorial is going to have to get rid of you because you're not generating the numbers as related to the business. And that's what comics are. They are a business, and that's what's being lost here because everybody's, again, clout chasing as related to comics YouTube. They're not understanding this is a business, and it's a business where you want to generate sales because that's what you want to do to make money. But Comics YouTube makes its money by creating controversy, but comics aren't getting sold and getting in the hands of readers. So when I look at the overall comic book YouTube, has become a very toxic place because we've lost sight of what is important, and what's important is getting readers to pick up comics and getting readers to go out here and buy comics. We've lost sight of it because people are caught up in the rumors and gossip as related to whatever SJW creator is out here, and that's not something I would want to focus on as a publisher. I mean, if I was a publisher at a Marvel or a DC Comics, my focus is primarily on sales. My focus is on getting readers the best quality books out there, and my focus is on marketing those books so that they are accessible to new readers the way John Ridley's Black Panther is to new readers. I mean, this is an absolutely fantastic book, and sadly, it's another one of those books that's falling through the cracks because more people were focusing on controversy and drama than focusing on a quality comic and focusing on getting that quality book in more people's hands so they can see what's great about comics overall. So when I look at this whole issue as related to Comics YouTube, it is becoming just as bad as the SJWs many complain about. Many complain that these social justice types are all about identity politics. Well, I have to say the clout chasing is equally just as bad as the social justice narrative, because while the social justice types want to be stars in their delusional minds, there are some in Comics YouTube who equally want to be stars, and because they have stars in their eyes, they have lost focus on what's important about comics, and that is getting quality comics from quality creators into readers' hands and generating the sales that will get people buying books and talking about them. Now, my first comic, Esteem No Good Deed, is available right now on Kindle for 99 cents, and if you want to see what a comic I would produce would look like, you can look at this comic that I did working with Bill Walko. And my upcoming comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, all of the art is complete, and right now I'm just waiting for the cover, and I'll be able to get that comic to you in an upcoming Kickstarter. And if you want to until then, if you want to pick up some of the prose books on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.